You're tuned in to RX Radio.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to RX Radio. Here with my, more consistent co-hosts, Dr. Jordan Shallow and Killian Hamilton. This week, we're going to be talking about longevity. We have a couple things on deck for you guys in terms of the seminars that are coming out. Shallow and I will be up in Edmonton, Alberta. Was that December?
That was the most American way to say Alberta. Most phonetic, like, oh fuck, where is it?
I just learned that this
He tried to
exists.
sound it out like it was a native word. Yeah. It's like, oh shit, no, every child matters. Alberta? Like that was.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey, fuck off. But yeah, you did a great job. So we're going to Edmonton, December, 18th, 19th?
December 18th, 19th, yep, for upper body intensive.
Upper body intensive, right? Cali.
Then we're out San Jose, January 15th, 16th. I get that one right?
I think that's it, yeah. And
upper body also.
PSL 1 starts January 11th, if I'm not mistaken. So registration for that is currently live. It's all up on the website, www.pre-script.com. Interested, you know what, maybe we should do a thing. If when this video goes out, I want everyone to comment Junta, Shallow, Killian, and the ages you think we're all going to die. Because here's what I think will happen. I think Killian outlives us all just as punishment.
Yeah.
Like just as some god punishing him for like, you know what, you really don't like it here. So I'm going to leave you here for a long time. This is your purgatory. This is your purgatory.
I could see that.
This is your hell on earth. All right, so that's it. Edmonton, upper body intensive, 18th, 19th of December. California, upper body intensive, San Jose, California, January 15th, 16th. Pre-script level 1 is live for sale registration right now, starting January 11th. All on the website, www.pre-script.com. Guys, enjoy the episode. Instagram, you find Killian at Killian.Hamilton. Junta at Red White, WITE, and Jordan. Lundy at Lunderjack Productions. Did I get that? Fuck yeah. And at RX Radio, at RX Radio. So you guys enjoy the episode. We'll see you next week. How long do you want to live for? No. Everyone knows your nihilistic fucking answer. You're going to walk out in front of a bus right now. Yeah. We'll save that short answer. Jay, the most responsible of us, go.
Most responsible, that's fucking scary.
That's a bad room.
Dude, honestly, growing up, I didn't think I was going to make it to 30 years old. So like the day that I turned 30, like a switch flipped. I'm like, I'm going to be a responsible human now. So like at this point, put an age on it. Dude, like... I don't know. I want to be old, like mid-80s, 90, but I don't want to be so old that my body and like mind are giving out on me. So like the second that starts to happen, I'm cool with dying.
See, how much do you forecast like the evolution of modern science argument? Like, you know what I mean? Like that we're going to intercept some singularity wave, and then the idea of your body breaking down at like 80, 90 is really more of like a 120, 130 thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, dude.
50 years
Yaniv,
between
right?
your 80.
You know
yeah,
Yaniv.
Of course. Yaniv's the center of the machine.
He's sent me this book about aging, and it's about like your telomeres in your DNA,
right.
like
telomere,
unraveling.
Yeah.
Right, and that's like essentially what aging is. So like anti-aging is like slowing down the unraveling of the telomeres in your DNA, which that sentence means absolutely nothing to me because I have no idea what that entails or how to prevent it. But apparently, if we know the issue with what's causing aging, I'd imagine that people will be working to slow that down at least.
How many people die from aging, though?
All of them?
No. Is cancer dying from aging? Is like kidney failure? Is diabetes dying from aging?
I feel like if you
really
live long enough, you're probably going to get cancer or heart failure or something
But
like
how
that.
many people are taking it to the line?
So what would a death by aging be?
I don't know. You just die because you're old, like Blue from Old School.
Like
you get oiled up in the wrestling match and your heart stops.
Is that a thing? Like when people go like, he died of old age. Like I don't actually know what that means.
Like just the heart just like beat its last beat?
I don't think that's the cause of death. Like old.
Yeah.
Just the cause of death, they just write his birthday? Like 1903. That's his cause of death.
He's fucking
It was 120
dusty.
years ago.
It's covered in dust.
I don't know, because I don't think many people take it to the judge's score table. I think most people it's a TKO.
Yeah.
It's like a 65 TKO, right? They went down to the 6th round, the 6th decade, halfway through the 6th decade, they went down with something. Because I don't like, and because this is the thing, longevity as a desirable or measurable or objective outcome when it comes to resistance training paradigms is like, the metrics are so silly. It's like, this is I think it's one of the situations where big data actually skews real life application. Because it's like, wow, we have these massive cohorts and like grip strength and all this. It's like, look, I know some diabetics that, man, if they got a hold of me, they're ripping my fucking throat out.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem. You know what I mean? It's just like the metric of longevity to me is such an interesting focal point. I feel like it's such a red herring in fitness. Is like, I just want to work out to live longer.
I think the other thing that's skewed and odd about it as well is like the arbitrary requirement of like high intensity cardiovascular capacity as a dictator of longevity, when people outside of fitness try their hardest via technology to do very little. So I don't know where the capacity of the heart to undergo stress really comes into play. Like, outside of dicking it down, like, I don't know where this is on trial.
So, like, you're saying, because one of the strongest predictors of all-cause mortality is VO2 max.
Correct.
Above grip strength, above, like, getting up and down from a fucking chair, whatever. So, I think it's just a buffer zone. I think the cardiorespiratory stuff is like, look, this is going to stop you. This is going to take it to the judge's scorecard because the heart-lung issue could take you down. So I think that's all that is. It's like, I don't know if supremacy in the cardiovascular output stage or arena is really what you're after, but you just gotta credit the account on the cardiovascular side a few times a week. That seems to be prevailing statistics.
Right.
I get that because like
surplus. Because like, isn't the number one killer heart disease?
Yeah,
I think so.
Right.
Yeah. Is it
So
still
it's
the
like
number one
people
killer?
just saying some is good, more is better, as opposed to enough is enough. That they just want this crazy like cardiovascular capacity, so that I don't know, that's counteracting the effects that might cause, or the things that might cause heart disease.
Yeah, I think it's like anything where you dose it too high, like it becomes dangerous in itself. Like how many people are just dropping dead in these 50 milers or like dropping dead in these 100 milers, right? Or just the stress of it. I think I've told this story before. I have a cousin named Billy and his father named Bill. They're real creative out there in Newfoundland. And Bill the uncle is like 75. He's like a forest ranger. So he just walked around the forests of Newfoundland his entire life. Like 30, 40 years, that's what he did. Billy, his son, he's like a chiropractor. He's got a few practices in Toronto. He's like an ultra marathon guy. Like I'm talking like you're portaging a canoe up a mountain to take it across a river. Like by the end of these 11 day things, like his feet are held together with duct tape. I'm sure Billy's VO2 max is through the fucking roof, but I'm sure he'll die younger than Bill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like his uncle, or my uncle, his father, kind of had this low intensity, steady state, minimal cumulative stress, right? And where Billy's like very controlled, high stress environments, like high cortisol, HPA axis goes through the roof. And you know what? They look like they could be the same age. Billy's probably late 40s. Uncle Bill is mid 70s. And they both look a really good 60. And they could be brothers.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of to your point, I think creating an on-ramp of the cardiovascular, because how many people taken from sedentary into high output, anaerobic activity, eat shit right there.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like put him on a treadmill and the guy just fucking flatlines. I've had it. Have you ever been in the gym where someone has died?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say I have been.
I have. Good Life Fitness.
Yeah, Good Life. Shout out Good Life.
Shout out Good Life Fitness.
Wait, you're telling me
more
both
people
of you
lives.
guys have been in the gym when someone died?
Yeah, 100%.
Isolated incidents. If there's one thing Good Life's known for, it's being the number one killer after heart disease.
No, I had a guy go down on a chest press machine.
Ooh.
Everyone just thought he was napping. He was part of like that morning crew of old folk. And like one day he went down for his normal snooze and just didn't come up.
Dude.
We had a guy die on the massage chair
Ooh, that's how I want to go out.
Yeah.
Fuck longevity.
Yeah,
I want to
that's a
go
good way
out
to
with
go.
a little
here's happy with
shiatsu
Yeah.
coming in through the low back.
Just watching the third rerun of ESPN.
That's amazing.
Dude. That's
So
fucking
you're
wild.
thinking 80, 90 as long as the body doesn't go. But all right, here's the thing. Body doesn't go. You know, you get away from Olympic lifting, your knees stop sounding like the way your knees sound. Do you want to push the limit? Like from a societal perspective. I don't want to see if the metaverse becomes a thing, your boy's out. Like I'm punching my last ticket, I'm out. I'm gone. I don't want to see this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just taking a play from the old man's playbook here, and once I've had enough, I'm just gonna fuck off into the middle of nowhere, and I'm
Yeah.
just not gonna fuck with society anymore. I'm just gonna like move out into isolation, be on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and just live my life there.
I feel like
But-
your dad's already kind of done the metaverse thing. But his metaverse
his
is like
metaverse is
50
only
chickens
him
in a
and his
deep
dog.
freeze and a bunch of assault rifles.
Yeah, there's a lot of weapons in the metaverse.
Yeah, he's got a sick Farmville in his metaverse.
Yeah.
It's his backyard. Oh shit! All right, we gotta go. How long do you want to live for?
I don't think age gets me. I think society gets me. Like you said, like you kind of beat me to the punch. Like, I think I want to die when I can't be here anymore.
Be here in the studio?
Yeah, like no, like when I can't.
Oh.
You know how like that's the number one phrase we use?
I can't.
I've already used that so many times per day. Like I think society will kill me way earlier than 80. Like
So
I'm
when
what,
you're done
20
with society, you're done with life.
All right,
Yeah,
but
I don't think I
this-
make it to 70.
Yeah, but this guy's not taking a bunch of pills and going down to the river. You're taking someone with you. Like, I look at you and I think murder suicide.
Yeah.
That's what I think. When I see Killian, I was like, there's no way this guy's going quietly. Why would he? He hasn't done anything else quietly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just blow my brains out. man.
No,
Like,
you
I
don't. Not
I
before
don't know.
blow. Not before. No, you're gonna because you'll watch some documentary about a guy who I don't know. You'll pick people off from a fucking
A tower? Like this is
a
West
tower
Texas
or like
football
the
game?
fucking what's the overpass
Yeah.
shooter or whatever. You'll do one of those things. You'll have fun with it. There's
Yeah, I
no
don't
way
know.
you're just gonna be like, God, I unsubscribed from this email list. Like like he's holding court on the street. You're gonna be Jeremy Renner of the town.
Something else I think about like longevity too is like I always wonder if those people who live a really long life were ever interesting to begin with. Because like the most interesting people die young. And the idea of me making it to like fucking 90 years old, I always think to myself like, probably boring.
Dude, I have
Okay,
this
like
friend.
not to-
He's local here to San Jose. His name's Ben Hopner, and his dad is like, he's like 104 years old or something.
I know exactly who. And Ben's like 26.
Yeah, you know Ben.
Yeah, I know Ben. Yeah.
That's
Dude,
right. I forgot
so
you knew
crazy.
him. But his dad is literally the most interesting man probably on this earth. Like Ben, I think, is making a documentary about his dad. But his dad literally like survived the Holocaust, like fled Germany, was like a refugee, and like found his way to the United States and is living to this day.
See, that's
Like-
so cool. And I want to be that old guy. But since I never got to do those things, I don't want to be 100 and be on CNN and then be like, and what did you see in your lifetime? And I'd be like, I worked on the internet. And then it was like,
The metaverse.
Yeah.
the metaverse. Get the fuck out of here.
So you're really hoping for like some sort of World War III, so that your story's worth telling.
I need something.
You
I
need
need a
something.
climactic event in my
So
film.
he needs conscription. That's what he needs.
Oh, yeah. Send
Like,
me
he
over.
needs like the black and white photo of him like leaning up against one of those like Mercedes Jeeps with
Yeah.
no top on them, like toting gas or something, just so he can pass that down. So that's what you need.
That or I just need to get smoked by a car like Joe Black. Like I just need to
Okay.
just
Does
be
anyone
gone.
else other than me not know who the fuck Joe Black is?
The movie Meet Joe Black with Brad Pitt where he speaks patois to the old lady in the hospital?
Negative.
I said I can't. What is okay? So give me so what? This guy just dies a meaningless death and like
No.
steps outside in front of a bus.
So Joe Black is death. And he comes to visit, I think it's Anthony Hopkins, because Anthony Hopkins is going to die. And basically Joe Black's like the Grim Reaper. And but Joe Black just shows up wherever people die. But no one really realizes that he is death. They think he's a real person. And then he inevitably, to get out of the situation, gets hit by a bus.
Okay, I gotcha. That's not the weirdest. That's not even the weirdest movie you described to me in the last 2 hours.
It's really good.
Okay. Well, here's my thing to double back. Like, you're not going quietly.
No.
I just don't. I just let's have a signal. Call me from a payphone or something
one
the
of
day
these.
of. Right? Okay. Just like a third base coach. Like you're just hitting your head a lot, like a chick with a weave. Like just doing one of these. Like, oh, today's the day that Killian snaps and just leaves his mark on the sidewalk because you need a jumper.
I don't know if I think the jump. I've always thought about the jump. I think the
Hold
jump
on.
would be fun.
You're 28 years old. What do you mean? You've
29.
You've all. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Never mind. From
No, but I've
28
always wanted to know. Like, this is a question, but like, jumping off a really high building is almost the same as the question of longevity. Like, what gets you first? Is it the ground or the heart attack on the way down?
Oh, it depends on your state of the ticker going under, right?
I guess
Like,
it's the VO2
yeah.
max. So we come back to VO2 max being a large predictor of longevity.
Well, now here's the
You
question:
have
if
the
I'm the
capacity
coroner
to
and I'm drawing the chalk line, I'm not checking the heart, right? Like this guy's head is on 3rd Street. Like I'm not fucking going. I wonder if it was the heart attack that did him. It's like he landed on an El Dorado. I think it was like the rearview mirror that did him. You know what I mean? Like I don't think the coroners are going into that level of detail.
You're not wrong.
I don't know. I want to. The only way I want to go, other than because I got. Does anyone have longevity in the family? Because I got longevity in the family. Like I got
how
a
old are we
great grandma
talking?
that went at 106.
No, it's too old.
Grandma went at 96. Grandpa went at 93. So
Dang.
like modern tech, I don't know, but I've been burning the candle at both ends. Like I've done some shit. Like there's a few things I've done. I'm like, well, that's 5 years. That's 5 years off. That's 5 years off the tail of the tape. But I think 106 might be pushing it. Thoughts?
It's too.
What's
too
the
long.
number for you though?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm somewhere between you two, I think. Where it's like so my thing is I want to take it to the limit. Like I want to ride out. I want to beat time. Like I want to go like my great grandma did. My great grandma turned 100. Nan Hoff, she was 100 and the day she turned 100, she's like, that's it. Mountain Dew, Jack Daniels, and Lay's potato chips. That's it. She survived on that for 6 fucking years.
Yeah, it's a good combo.
No eyelashes, no eye. She almost like Benjamin Button. Like she was almost looked like she was like a weird
baby.
purpley tinge like a baby, and 0 hair left, 0 nothing, but also 0 fucks. And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
you know what? You've made it. Like that's the thing. I want to just fall across the line and be like, all right, I'm done. And then just take it to the scorecards. Like I don't want, the only way I want to die young is at the hands of a larger animal. Hands, paws, shark teeth, whatever.
What about a larger human though?
No.
All right.
No. Because like large, I don't know. No. Most larger humans I know. Or there's like a weird head nod thing. You're like, all right, tip of the hat to this guy,
you're in
on to
that
the
club.
next. Yeah, I just don't want to. If I get killed by a human in any capacity, like I just was like looking at my phone and some guy just pulls a piece out. I'm like, oh, fuck. God damn it, man. Like I'd be so pissed. Like it would probably take a fatal. Like if I got shot in the leg, I'd be like, no, I'm too stubborn. This is not how I go. But like swimming with sharks and like the cage opens and you just hear the dun 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 and then that's it. It's like, yeah, okay. I could live with that. So if I'm not taking it all the way across the line, that's how I want to go. Large animal. Like just like a blue whale in passing. Next thing you know, you're Jonah. You're just in there like, how the fuck? Oh, I guess this is how I die, inside a whale. That's how I want to do it. But has the thought of, because I know the answer, has the thought of exercising, I'm not even going to say longevity, has the thought of exercising for health crossed either of your minds in the last 12 years, 15 years? He
That's
just
a
laughed.
hard question to answer because there's nothing healthy about how much I've exercised or the reasons I've exercised in my life. It's not like I'm going to do this so that I could get off the
longevity.
toilet when I'm 70. It's like, all right, I'm going to test the fucking limits. And I think I'm like, I don't think I've backed off that. I think I'm more intellectual about my approach in that like, the longer I can do this, the better a chance I have at being strong versus like, this is because I want to be healthy when I'm older.
Yeah, I never had that I want to get off the toilet when I'm 70, but I did have a few things where I'm like, I can't get off the toilet when I'm 26. So it's like my
That's
knees
an
are
issue.
so fucked that you got to do like the straight leg using the wall thing to get up. But yeah, and that's a hard part for general population to like parse out is there's a line between where they see a lot of the people in fitness push health or push exercise to and where it's actually like, what is the minimum effective dose?
Right.
And I guess like the challenge I have with it, like looking at exercise for longevity, is it seems like the lowest rung on the ladder in terms of like what matters most. Like even if I trained for longevity, the nutritional and like things I put in my mouth, mistakes I make, I'm like, this ruins any chance of the fucking whatever pistol squat being a good predictor of health. And that's where I think people like lose the plot, right? It's like, man, I think there's probably like a better benefit to some micronutrient balance, phosphorus thing to me living a better life than a fucking exercise.
You think?
100
See, I think I
million%.
take the complete opposite stance of that. I think
Oh,
you
really?
can get away with pushing, like if you're training, and you're getting in the cardiorespiratory or the cardiovascular stuff, and you're getting in the resistance training, you have like you're in the top percentiles of strength for your age group, or maybe even like relative younger age groups. I think if you wanted to, I don't know, have a cheeseburger every day, you'd be fine.
I don't know.
That's an
I personally
interesting
don't think
statement.
so.
I'm kind of with
where's your-
Killian on
what's your
this one
stance?
because if you think of like what it takes to maintain, relative health, think about
Yeah.
someone that walks 2 miles a day, 7 days a week. You can probably get away with that and live a very long life if your nutrition is dialed in,
Yeah.
right? If you work out maybe 3 to 5 days in the gym, resistance training, and you eat a less than ideal diet, I feel like that's going to have more of a toll on you long term than it would having a less strenuous exercise regimen and having better nutrition over a long period of time.
I just think of like what we know of like leaky gut and like sugar and inflammation and like visceral fat, and like those things aren't dependent on exercise to improve them.
I don't know. I think if you go in the gym and you can accrue muscle mass, you're gonna be burying the guy that's walking for 2 miles a day. I think muscle mass is gonna be the fucking thing that. I mean, obviously, we're not talking to the point that we take it, and like guys in here take it, but it's like I think the guy who goes to a fucking TGI Fridays and just YOLOs it on the spinach artichoke dip or whatever the fuck, he's going to grab the shovel and bury the guy that eats the fucking drinks prune juice or whatever the fuck and goes on a walk every day.
I don't know though, because like, isn't it Japan that has the highest?
Lundo, you're
the
up.
highest like per capita like age?
Okay, but so I think you're getting into epidemiology stuff because like where are the blue zones in the world? Have you ever heard of this?
I know nothing.
So blue zones are like weird, inexplicable pockets of very, very old people. One of them is actually in where Hayden's from, or where Hayden's parents go out. And Bridgewater, Nova Scotia is part of a blue zone.
I don't think that counts because that would be, but people can move to there.
What are we at?
We got Monaco, Japan.
Okay, so Monaco is head and shoulders above Japan. What are the numbers? What are the statistics? What are we looking at?
Median age. So
what's Monaco's?
55.4.
That's
their
median.
median.
What's the absolute?
Would be 110 then, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know how that works.
Most old people per capita. See, they don't have it cut and dry.
Oldest, longest life expectancy. If you search that, I still maintain that muscle mass is going to be what gets you the furthest because it's an engine that's constantly needs to be fed, and that's like prioritized in the body. So
But
that
I don't.
whatever
But that's lean muscle mass, and I don't think that counts if your diet's shit. Like if your lean muscle mass is still covered in pounds of fat.
Well, and here's the thing:
That's an
like
inefficient
obviously, just as weight training could go too far and become unhealthy, or at least not unhealthy, but work against you if longevity is the objective outcome. Obviously, diet, we have to give the same deference to diet, right?
So I'm just saying,
like,
I think it holds a bigger candle than weight training.
What about something like bone density as kind of a link between
Proxy?
the two, right? Because that's going to have to do with diet, and it's also going to have
Yeah.
to do with muscle mass and strain on the skeletal system.
I don't know, because my thing with that is like, would the outliers skew the data? Like my 600-pound life, I bet you those dudes are dense as fuck because they're carrying on 600 pounds just to get out of bed, right? Like I think the data would be scary. All right, so Lundo's got it here. Life expectancy, both sexes. Hong Kong, 85 for both. Females, 88, and males, 82. Japan coming in as relatively close second at 85.03. And then females at 88 and males at 81.
Okay.
So I don't know. So your take on Japan was what?
I think it's diet related.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's see if there's any trends in like dietary habits across the top 5. I don't know. Macau is an Asian country.
Macau is like the Las Vegas of China.
Now you see me. right? That was that place.
Yeah.
And Now You See Me, that movie.
And it's where they, in the one James Bond movie, they have the Komodo dragons.
Oh, sick.
So
Okay, Switzerland,
Hong Kong, Japan,
Singapore.
Hong Kong, Japan, Macau, Singapore all have really high age groups, and I think they would revolve around very similar diets.
Zoom that for me, Lundy.
So we're not talking mainland China either, right? We're talking Hong Kong, which is the more developed of the options. Same with Macau, like a big British influence. Japan's a really, like, I think Okinawa is where the pocket of the oldest people in the world are.
Interesting.
Switzerland, again, like, I think a lot of this plays to lower stress as well. Like, Hong Kong's a developed Asian kind of
Switzerland is a fucking wrench in there, though. You know what I mean? Switzerland as the coming in the 4 spot. Because my initial thought that ties these things together is weather. Although Japan has parts of it that do get cold. I don't know. I don't know if...
I think what we look at here is, I think you and I might have had this discussion before. I had it with somebody. It's countries with a constant, not temperate in terms of like moderately warm, but a more constant band of temperature. Like they don't go from deep freeze to hot like we do. So we're looking at a bunch of countries where relatively everyone would live in their respective area and probably deal with almost 12-month periods of relative similar weather.
I think one thing, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but one thing that I think is...
Small people.
Not necessarily small, although you do make an interesting point, although the Swiss, I think, would probably tend to the larger side, is these all seem like places that have very homogenous cultures, right? And not to say like that multiculturalism isn't a benefit by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there might be something to a sociological thing of living in a culture that's very familiar, right? Like Hong Kong is, if you've ever been, it's crazy, but it's like it's very distinct. Japan, very distinct. I'm assuming Macau, very distinct. Switzerland, very distinct. Singapore, very distinct.
Yeah.
Like everyone in Singapore is Singaporean. Like you look like the next guy that looks like the next guy that looks like the next guy. Switzerland, probably the same thing. Macau, same thing. Japan, same thing. Like you don't see. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No, you're right.
The other thing that all these countries have a relationship with is a greater respect for geriatric populations.
Oh, good
So
call.
they have the least likelihood of elder abuse, and they have the greatest support for elders in these countries, right? Like Hong Kong, Japan, Macau, Singapore, Italy, Spain, all these places. Like the older you get, the more important you get.
Right.
Like Italy has a program called, like, it's like this Adopt a Nona.
Hit it, Londo.
So
I love it.
In Italy, if there's a Nona who no longer has a family, and there's a family that no longer has a Nona,
Shut up.
you can adopt the Nona as a live-in nanny, but she becomes your grandmother. So you give her room, you give her board, but she cooks and takes care of the kids, and she's now your grandmother because they want grandparents in Italy, and because it's such an effect to their social society if you don't have that matriarch or patriarchal figure, you can just adopt an elderly person to be your grandparent.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's
I think
fantastic.
that of all of the ones we've kicked around, I feel like that's probably the biggest contributor is the respect to old people. Because it kind of brings it back to my thing about conversations had at a younger age about like all-cause mortality and metrics based around longevity that are perpetuated. Because I feel like you have medical and big data. I feel like you have fitness who takes it way too far and is unhealthy. And I feel like you have the very uninformed general population who wants to walk their kid down the aisle. And the two of them are looking in directions going at like this, oh, so wait, I just need to practice getting up and down out of a chair. Okay. Or your other option is like, yeah, bang some trend, squat 405 forever. It's like, well, neither of these are probably the likely path for you to go down to actually establish habits that might allow you to live longer. Because the one, like Peter Attia is like a big, and he was on Rogan a few weeks ago talking about this. And it's like, and to your point about the elder abuse thing, I think this is something that needs to be taken into consideration. It's like, will you live longer if you don't get jumped in the street?
Yeah.
Like, so do you live in safer places? That's obviously going to be a huge factor. Like what is the average life expectancy now in the south side of Chicago? Like if I'm sitting there in the south side of Chicago, the higher yield weighted variable is not me getting up and down out of my chair a bunch of times or doing like some wattage bike VO2 max 4 times a week. It's probably staying below the windows. Right? And like understanding if longevity is your goal, what are, just like anything, like if vertical jumping is your goal, if if I don't know, a faster mile time is your goal, if a bigger bench press is your goal, what is your highest yield weighted variable? And in the south side of Chicago, the likelihood that you're going to be bottlenecked by time or a comorbidity that comes with time versus like getting strung up on the block. It's like, yo, maybe you save your pennies and your longevity play is moving up to the burbs or something.
Well, there's a 30-year gap between 9 miles in Chicago.
Hold on. What are you saying? Read that to me. Lundo, hit it in the mic.
Yeah, so Inglewood is like not a great place in Chicago, and their expectancy is only to live to 60, and then 9 miles away in Streetsville, whatever that is, I'm assuming a richer community, is looks to be 90.
Streeterville.
Streeterville,
yeah. That's North River, Chicago.
Yeah.
That's bougie as fuck. Wow.
So that kind of speaks to socioeconomic status, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That probably has a big deal to do with the stressors that they're incurring, like physical, mental. Probably has to do with nutrition, the ability or their availability for exercise and training and things like that.
This is why like community gardens are big in inner city neighborhoods, right? Or like in metropolitan neighborhoods anyways, because of nutrition and like proximity to having a kitchen where you can cook, number one. Like many people live without a working kitchen, which is a surprising statistic. And then, yeah, you're going to be eating fast food. And I went to Brooklyn. Like you can't get away from a place you could buy a $5 meal, but I can't find a place where I can buy a fucking salad to save my life, right? And that's a gentrified area like Brooklyn. So imagine, and like, dude, you go to Englewood, I bet you there's a lot of people with sick VO2 max there.
Right, yeah.
Like, south side of Chicago has born some of the greatest athletes next to Streeterville.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, I think too, like, going back to the fucking do bike sprints or whatever, it's like, I wonder if that ties to the ability to do bike sprints.
That you're in such a state where it's like, you know what, I've listened to this podcast and I'm going to get a Peloton.
Yeah, like I had 3 hours.
Great.
I had 3 hours to listen to Joe Rogan, and now I have an hour today to rip it on my $1,500 assault bike.
Yeah, you know who doesn't have that time? A single mother in the south side of Chicago.
Walking.
Right.
The 2 miles
Between
a day.
3 fucking jobs. Yeah, it's
Right.
I don't know. And I think this is where big data loses its context, and this is no shade. Like, we obviously need numbers, and big data can help us solve more, I think, simpler, more isolated problems. But the problem that it's a problem, but like the problem of longevity is, I think, too multifactorial to be reduced down to like grip strength, get up and down, and your VO2 max has to be in this percentile. It's like, really? That's a luxury, dude. Like, that's a luxury for someone to be like, okay, I want to cross the finish line at 90, telomere length, whatever, or I want to cross the line at 93. It's like, okay, most people are just trying to pay their mortgage, right? That's where most people are probably at. So I think understanding, just like in any periodization program, what are like the highest yield weighted variables? And I think, to give credence to your guys' point earlier about nutrition, it could be nutrition. Right? Like, if you're saying that most people live without a working kitchen, or like these lower socioeconomic places that clearly have a detriment to your longevity with a 30-year difference in a 9-mile radius, it's like, okay, yeah. Can you set up sustainable habits around nutrition? Like, if you're someone who's in one of these neighborhoods, can you get out of the cycle of falling victim to the convenience of fast food, right? Can you somehow be able to resource or source food in a way more responsible to kind of the underlying factors that you guys were talking about? Because I think it's like rungs of a ladder.
That's what I think, and that's what it is. It's like people just don't weigh their options, right? Like, they double down on doing bike sprints, but it's like, maybe you could just eat vegetables at every meal too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never going to do bike sprints, but I'm going to try my hardest to not be a jerk off when I eat. And maybe that'll increase my longevity.
Sorry. It's almost like a value system. It's like, how important do you rank these, top 10 variables, and that can kind of predict how long you're going to live or what your longevity might be up. And then there's things that are unpredictable, like your fucking genetics, right? Someone could just have like the genetics that they're going to develop some crazy like cancer and die at, I don't know, 30, 40, whatever.
The one thing that was really interesting about that list, and with cultures in general, food is a center point. But like, I don't know much about Macau, but Japan, Hong Kong, Italy was in there, Switzerland. Like Switzerland is known for cheese and chocolate, right? So it's like how much, like I think portion control is probably your biggest, highest yield weighted variable. So like if you're in the outside of Chicago, or if you're in a place that, if you're Windsor, Ontario, if you're in a place that is, you know, like a lesser socioeconomic status, just understanding the basics around macronutrition and just being like, hey, this thing has this much energy stuff in it. I need this much energy stuff. If I'm going to eat this, maybe I eat half of it now and half of it later. Right. And like, and that could be the simplest habit. Because if you look at some of these cultures and if you look at like what their cultures are built around, it's all, not that North American culture is any different, but the North American cultural centerpiece is fast food. Yeah. That's our, like, North American influence is our major export, right? It's excess, it's opulence, it's rap music, it's fucking baseball, it's country music, it's excess, right? Like if you go through an airport in the other part of the world, there's gonna be a fucking Wendy's. You know what there's not? A hole in the wall food truck in the side of a financial building in Hong Kong that serves wonton soup, right? Like there's not going to be that. So our export is convenience, and we succumb to that culturally, but to our detriment. Where every other culture, as Lundy scrolls down this list, cultures are, food is a center point, right? But one of the things that center to all of these top 5 countries as far as longevity is concerned is the portions. Right? Like you go to Japan and it's like, sure, you can order a ton of food, but you're going to pay for it. Yeah. But like you go to Texas Roadhouse, like how does our Golden Corral, it's like, holy fucking shit. Put it in a bucket and strap it to my fucking head. Right? Like Hong Kong, Japan, Macau, Switzerland, Singapore, Italy, like Italy, Spain, Australia, like these are all culturally driven or food driven cultures where food is the center point, but they're all portion control.
And I think like another aspect of this too is like we look at the countries that are at the top, like even choice of food traditionally versus like what we get as the westernized version. A lot of these countries are, and this is like kind of getting hippy dippy, but like heavy on fermented foods.
Yep.
Like you're going to get fermented cabbage, like probiotic rich things. You're going to get fish. You're going to get aged cold meats. You're not deep frying things necessarily, croquettes out of Switzerland. Even like traditional Italian food is very different than Western Italian food. Like you're getting mussels, oysters, you know, squid pasta.
You're not getting all you can eat breadsticks. Is what you're saying.
Exactly. And I think the athletics program in those countries too trends towards traditional athletics, not gym class like we all did.
Right.
Like they're doing fucking cross country skiing, swimming, track and field. Like they do Olympic sports as gym. We play fucking parachute with the fucking foam balls doing popcorn. Like that's a thing.
I think there's another trend with this list. Relatively small populations. Like Hong Kong's a bit of an outlier, but Lundy, what's the population of Hong Kong? But like Japan, relatively small. Switzerland, very small, right? And the thing about fermented foods, because this has always gotten me, because like me and Jay were Jay's, 7.4 million. That's not a lot.
No.
But that's the GTA in a country. It's the Greater Toronto area. So Japan, I think under 9 million. Macau, I have no idea.
Singapore's 5.6.
Okay, so we're all sub 10 million, which kind of speaks to the food thing. It's like America has a problem. There's 400 million people, and you got to somehow feed
everybody,
right? The thing about the fermented food thing that's always gotten me is fermented food, I think, is just a backhanded way or an indirect way or a proxy to lower calorie intake.
Correct. No, 100%.
Go ahead. Try and overeat fermented food.
Yeah.
And see, like, what do we got? With kimchi, sauerkraut. Hit me with some more fermented food. Yogurt. Eat 2,500 calories of fermented foods and see how far you get. That's like a cinnamon challenge. You would literally die. Like, second spoonful of sauerkraut, I don't want to eat anything.
Yeah.
So I think there's a few factors that are co-aligning with like this top 5 list of longevity. One, I think, is lesser population. I think that drives a greater or a more accessible supply. Kefir, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
A more accessible supply to better source, more responsibly source foods. And then I think the socioeconomic thing that goes with that. I think the ability to be in a community that has, you know, that values elders in their culture, rather than like the North. Where, just as a quick thought experiment, Lundy, slide down and find Canada and the U.S.
U.S. was 46.
Yeah, Canada's 16.
Okay, shout out. And then let's see Jay's fate. Just so I want to let you know of how many countries are ahead of you, or the countries that are ahead of you right now. Estonia is ahead of you. Cuba, fuck you.
The Czech Republic.
Yeah, Poland, Curacao, the Maldives,
Guam.
Qatar, Guam, Chile, Costa Rica. So like, you guys are getting beat to the punch. So what was that number again, Lundy?
46.
46. Now here's the thing. What other countries in the world are bigger by population than the United States? India, China. Where are they on the list? Because I want to play devil's advocate and give the devil its due. So China's coming in at 64. How far do you think we're going to have to scroll until we hit China?
Who is it? India?
Or sorry, India.
I have a counter argument to that.
We might have to command F it. This is crazy. So Lundy's still scroll. India, 136. Wow. So this is where like the trade-off comes in. Is like, yeah, the U.S. might not have a great or relatively great compared to these top 5 countries of Macau, Japan, Switzerland, Singapore, whatever. But they're also ranked orders of magnitude better than countries that have these exploding populations, because they're kind of in a unique place. Around 400 million in such an expansive landmass. I don't know what country is close in that ratio. It's either you're going a bill plus, or you're down in like the sub 35 million, which is like Canada, Australia, sub 35 million. Then you get up into the 500 millions. It's pretty much US standing alone until you get to the front runners of India and China.
So one thing I think is interesting from like sociology point of view or a political point of view is the idea that like China and India, although massive in their populations, is their quality of life and development unfortunately a byproduct of Western society's manufacturing. So like they're far down on the list, but where does everything come from? And what are the conditions of those factories? So if the best place to make money in China is working at a Walmart factory, that's a Western, I'm not going to shame the US, but a Western company. And that's where you go to work, and people die faster than they die at Amazon.
But my question would be,
these countries live longer without
at that level of population, and not to play a fault game, but it's like, what is the likelihood that if these factories weren't there, that these would even fall lower? Just so we're clear, Lundy, India is the last on this list. Okay, no, all right, good. So there's more that fall underneath that.
Madagascar, obviously.
Okay, you get eaten by the turtles. Is that what it is? Darwin just gets you when you come off the boat. But like, I don't know, because my counter argument to your counter argument is like, yeah, these are less than ideal jobs and working conditions, but what is the solution for employing and bringing above the poverty line that many hundreds of millions of people?
Now, I don't know if you need to bring them above the poverty line. Because like people can live off their own land, and there's massive amounts of land in China to do agricultural things on. But is it the hope of going into a factory for the possibility of slightly more money, but the inverse relationship is far more dangerous conditions that drives these people there, that overall lowers the life expectancy of a country?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but
I don't know either. I'm just posing a question, and I'm not demonizing anything.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is also interesting.
Yeah, I think the population is going to be the biggest thing. Like, I think population is a umbrella principle that's going to drive a lot of these socioeconomic things, right? Like, it's way easier to feed 7.5 million people than it is to feed 500 million, it is to feed 1 billion plus. And I think from that stems all the issues. And I think that's going to be the strongest consideration. But like, we see, if you scroll down to India quickly, so 74.2. What was the south side of Chicago's average life expectancy?
60.
All right. So it's, you got to really fine tune these search criteria down to the most applicable, to your most applicable avatar. Cause like, going off of, and this is where I think big data skews things, because you could look at the US and be like, oh, we're coming in at 43. We're still better than India. It's like, well, where do you live in the States?
Yeah.
Like, do you live 9 miles in Streeterville, or do you live 9 miles south in Inglewood? Because like that plays such a difference. So I think as local a demographic data as you can is probably going to be the most effective use of like epidemiological information as it dictates your longevity. And then from there, you start to create these prioritized hierarchies of like, okay, is it staying below the windows?
Yeah.
Is it getting a heater?
Yeah.
Do I got to come out toting gats? Do I got to like lay down suppressive fire as I get to my fucking car? Or is it, we're in Streeterville. It's like, hey, I'm Merv. Or hey, Nori. I think Nori is probably in Streeterville, our lawyer. But the invoices we sent, those are some Streeterville invoices.
Man.
It's like maybe we get Nori a Peloton bike for Christmas. We go like, look, Nori, you're doing well. You're probably going to live to 90. Let's see if we can see 95. Right? Let's get you on some kimchi and the Peloton a few times a week. Because I think a lot of people miss the plot. Because my thing is, like, what are your highest yield weighted variables when it comes to achieving any goal? And I think longevity is no different. I just think it's almost like the new market play. Because like the people that were into like peripheral general population fitness marketing late night TV ads that kind of got you to buy a Bowflex, those people are kind of thinking about legacy now. Those people are thinking about like, oh shit, like having kids, or maybe like their kids having kids, and like, how am I going to pay for college? Am I going to be around later in life? So I think it's just, there's like this, it's the baby boomers really. Like that's the largest surplus in population that we've seen in our generation, is like our parents pretty much. And it's like watching them go and watching the same tactics in marketing, the same bad science, the same biases in reporting big data based off the industry that's reporting it, just following it to a different goalpost. It's like, oh, the goalpost now is living long. Let's apply the same lack of nuanced conversation across the board. Make sure you can stand up and sit down really fast, or make sure your VO2 max is like at an Olympic class levels. Like, I don't think any of that is probably going to, or if it is, you're doing really, really well.
And I think by the time, it's easy to sell longevity because you as the person selling it, it would take so long for whatever you're saying works to prove pass or fail that it won't matter. Yeah. It's like, oh, you'll live longer than what?
Right. Yeah.
How does what you're selling, how can you disprove what you're selling? No one's lived long enough to say it fucking doesn't work, and we don't even have an objective enough science to go, it added X or Y.
And who's hitting the deathbed going like, damn it, fit tees, fuck, go sue them now. Yeah. Like my dying wish is to get retribution for this. Or you nail it. Yeah. Like, oh man, I wanted to live to 95. And then you're on your deathbed just thanking some company. Like, oh, thank God for Peloton.
Imagine.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. But yeah, I don't know. Longevity is a weird one because it's one that's starting to creep up more and more as the new frontier of fitness marketing. And I think to your last point, it is probably the most pervasive, because it's like, hey, do whatever, P90X, lose 20 pounds in 8 weeks or whatever. It's like 8 weeks has elapsed. The scale has not moved. This sucked. Yeah. Or whatever it is. And, I'm sure there's people who have done it. Or do keto, do paleo. It's like very short-term metrics, very almost instantaneous feedback relative to the time scale of when you're going to die, right? But it does seem to be the new carrot that everyone's chasing, is like, how can I live longer? And it's like, there's some things like that I just wouldn't do. Like, how many years off of your life would it take if you said, if you stopped eating red meat, you could live X. No, his eyebrows literally said the whole thing. Like, if you could live 50 years longer, if you stopped eating red meat.
I don't know.
All right, so let's do a loss aversion study. So let's go. You die at 55 if you don't stop eating red meat, or you live to 130.
I mean, this is a bad question because I'm just going to challenge the premise that red meat is bad for me. So. Fuck that.
But I mean, anything. Plug in anything for that.
Right. No, I totally get what you're saying. But yeah, I'm obviously going to choose the thing that's going to make me live longer.
Really? You? See, I would take 55 and a ribeye. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I mean, I would argue that a grass-fed ribeye is just as good for you as, a cut of salmon or something.
But like, so don't think logically about it. Because like, let's impart something else. Let's go like, if you had to run 5K every day.
All right.
And if you didn't do that, you'd die at 60. If you did do it, you'd die at 120.
Yeah, you got me there. I'm dying at 60 and I'm dying happy.
Right, exactly. I'm dying with no shin splints and no bunions and no Saucony shoes, whatever the fuck. Yeah, so that's the kind of idea, is like, I think it's when we look at these lists and parsing things out, it's what do you want to live longer for, right? Like what are you holding on to?
Yeah.
You watch Seinfeld reruns for another 30 years.
Yeah.
Like that's really what my future is.
I guess I look at it as like I would never trade it for like getting to 120 because I don't know what I would do in the last 50 years of that. That would be that exciting. It's like if you could go back, it's like if I could buy back 10 years and get to like do the last 10 years again, knowing what I know now, I would do whatever.
But what are your next 10 years but that already?
No, but I'm old, man.
What are you talking about? What is debilitating about what you can do now?
Being jaded.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, if I could go back and like do it again and know how to not get jaded about everything, it's like, well, dude, give me 10 years, I'll run 5K every day.
Yeah, no, I'm taking the early.
It's a weird conversation for me because like I feel like my life has almost linearly gotten better as I've gotten older. Like
Yeah, same.
in different ways, in different struggles. Like I feel like I'm living my best life right now. To be honest,
But you want to sell high, dog. Like you don't want to ride the dip.
So,
Bro.
yeah, that's
like I'm
that's the
out.
thing. It's not about duration. It's about quality, right?
Yeah.
So once that quality starts to drop off, then it's like, all right, I'm going to move to my farm and maybe eat a shotgun. No one will know.
People know. Yeah. It'll be on the evening news. CBC Channel 4. Killian just fucking starts plowing through a bunch of people in the Yaris or something. All right, cool. I don't know. It's something that's always bugged me on the longevity side because the quality side's never taken into consideration, and then like the more nuanced conversation that with such a multivariant topic, such as like what's going to kill you, it's the one that's most broadly painted over. Like, oh, training people over the age of this, we need to make sure we're doing these metrics, and we need to get 7 on the beep test and this on the step test. It's like, what? This guy, are you joking me? Like, this can't be the 3 hours a week that we work with these older populations isn't going to be the deal breaker. So I may be identifying in those 3 hours what is your highest yield weighted variable that will be linked to all-cause mortality, because it is the way of the world. Because fitness is starting to realize it's like, shit, old people got some bank and they got some cash flow and they're willing to spend it. And with like the superimposition of technology and fitness, it's I think Peloton really opened up the world to like how lucrative fitness can be. And there's no better pain point from a sales perspective than you gonna die. So that's all I got. Anything to close on? Longevity?
I don't know, man. It's weird. I think the metrics are going to be different depending on the populations you're dealing with, right? So you can't just have this blanket statement that this is what's going to help you live longer. Like, I have a client who's well off. He's a lawyer. He's got a family, all this stuff. Lives a pretty stress-free life, but he drinks all the fucking time. It's like, the drinking's probably going to get to you before anything that we do in the gym here. So it's like intervening at the right time with the right thing with the right person, I think is going to be your best metric around what's going to dictate longevity. And it's almost common sense, right? It may not be, data. It may not be these variables that you can make blanket epidemiological statements about. But when you're in the room with someone and if you get to know them, then you're going to know the things that they can change to at least give them more longevity in their day-to-day. I don't know. That's how I think about it.
I feel that. All right. Let's wrap this. Guys, appreciate you hanging out. Killian, Jay, London Jack production on the ones and twos. We'll do everything else in the intro. That's it for today. Thanks, guys.